Magandang bispas ng Biyernes sa inyong lahat. Today is October 22, 2020. Welcome to another edition of the Stock Market Today. Ako po si Benji Chadoro, inviting you to join me as we take a look at the latest news on nickel prices, PLDT and BPI at ang resulta ng trading sa PSE. Lahat ng yan dito lamang sa October 22, 2020 edition ng the Stock Market Today. Bago po ang lahat, basahin po muna natin ang ating reminders at disclaimers. At habang binabasa po natin ito, kung first time niya po dito sa ating channel, ay nag-start po akong magbigay ng daily stock market report noong August. Inaanyayahan ko po kayo na mag-subscribe sa aking channel para palagi po tayong updated sa balik at impormasyon tungkol sa stock market at ang mga active stocks sa merkado. Ako po ay isang retired employee ng isa sa pinakamalaking bangko sa Pilipinas. Naging OFW din po ako nung ma-assign po akong maging compliance head ng aming branch sa Hong Kong. Mga 8 months din po akong namalagi sa ibang bansa. Pagkatapos po noon ay nasign po ako sa biyaya ng Diyos na maging Chief Compliance Officer ng isang subsidiary ng bangko. And since early 2000 ay nag-start po akong mag-invest regularly sa UITFs at pagkatapos ay sa stocks. Salamat po at tignan po muna natin ang ating mga balita. From Business World, stocks rise further on improved economic outlook. This is referring to yesterday's PSEI, when the PSEI gained 2.16 or 2.71% to close at 6278.59. And this was because local and foreign investors bought shares on increasing optimism over the economy's recovery. And we have noted yesterday also, for the first time after 28 straight days of net foreign selling, offshore investors posted net inflows of 343.24 million during Wednesday's trading. Another news is on from the Philippine Star. This is regarding nickel prices. Higher global nickel prices to benefit Philippines. So according to the news, the country's nickel miners expect prices to remain favorable until 2021 despite the coronavirus pandemic. And hopefully, prices will continue to be good in 2021, said Isidro Alcantara, Philippine Nickel Industry Association board member. Now, around 90% of the Philippines' total nickel exports goes to China, while the remaining 10% goes to Japan. Nickel is a component in making steel. Okay, so let's take a look at another news. This is also from the Philippine Star on PLDT. PLDT adding more fiber lines. So PLDT is getting ready for the onslaught of competition. There is Dito, Now, and Converge. PLDT is rolling out additional fiber lines, providing 500,000 more ports nationwide over the next 3 months to serve the country's growing demand for high-speed broadband connectivity. On top of that, PLDT will also expand its 5G coverage next year. Also, PLDT will continue to bolster its fiber infrastructure. It is also looking into expanding the reach of its 5G offering. PLDT wireless subsidiary Smart has become the country's first telco to launch 5G services nationwide in September. And finally, we have news on BPI. This is from the Inquirer.net. BPI net profit down 34% on higher loan loss buffer. Ayala-led Bank of the Philippine Islands booked 17.17 billion in January to September net profit, down by 22.1% year-on-year due to much higher provisions set aside for probable loan losses. BPI booked 21.06 billion in loan loss buffer for the first 9 months, 4.6 times higher than the provisioning expense in the same period last year, based on the bank's regulatory filing. So it had a lower net profit because of its higher loan loss provisioning. Now, to me, the loan loss provisioning is not a negative thing. In fact, it will make the balance sheet more favorable because one, there is disclosure that there is a recognition that there is a possible loss on their accounts receivable. Now, how does this work? Accounts receivable is an asset in the balance sheet. So nasa asset side siya. It is an asset because you have a claim on something you have lent to a borrower. Now, if you expect that the borrower cannot pay, then you anticipate a possible loss and you provision an expense, and the contra account is an allowance for probable losses. What happens here is that the provisioning is outright treated as an expense, while the contra account is a deduction to the accounts receivable asset. So dun sa balance sheet, makikita nyo, accounts receivable, and then kasunod, after that accounts receivable, merong allowance for probable losses, which is a deduction to the accounts receivable amount. Okay, now central bank rules provide, or BSP rules provide, that you have to exert all efforts to collect from the borrower, and only after you have exhausted all these efforts, saka mo na lang ira-write off yung account. So how do you write off the account? You simply apply the allowance against the receivable. So if your accounts receivable, for instance, is say 50 million, and your allowance for doubtful accounts or probable losses is 1 million. So 50 minus 1, magiging 49 na lang. Mawawala na yung allowance. Maneneto na siya. Accounts receivable will be reflected as 49 million, while your allowance for probable losses gets zeroed out. Now, you don't anymore recognize the expense because that was already recognized when you book the allowance for probable losses. Okay, so that's the beauty of it. Reflected na sa balance sheet yun na meron ka ng expected loss on the accounts receivable. So that's our news for the day on allowance for doubtful accounts on BPI. So let's now go to how the PSE is doing. The PSEI ended in the black or in the green, or whatever term they are acceptable. So it ended at 63.4463, 66.04 points higher than the previous close. That's 1.05%. On top of that, there was net foreign buying at 214.2 million. Let's take a look at the summary. 100 companies advanced, 102 declined, while 43 remained unchanged. Total volume was 1.28 billion, valued at 9.81 billion. As for the indices, all indices were in the black or in the green, except for the financials, which declined by 0.83%, and the services, which declined by 0.42%. The gainers were led by properties, which gained 2.73%, followed by the industrials at 1.5%. The all-share index registered a 0.74% gain. Okay, let's review the most active stocks. We will be reviewing Ali, AC, BDO, JFC, SM, DITO, MBT, BPI, SECB, LTG, NIKL, and MER. So let's go to the first stock, Ali. Okay, Ali led all gainers with net foreign buying at 43.54 million. It continued its upward trend following the index, and it gained 1 point or 1.00 or 3.08 points. So its next resistance, if it continues to move upward and if volume permits, is 33.78 at the 33.78 area. Let's do the next stock. That's Ayala Corporation. Ayala Corporation also registered an increase, 12 points or 1.64%. It ended at 744. So today there is an increased volume, but during trading, the price reached a high of 760, but sellers pushed it down to end at 744. Right now, the nearest resistance is at the 760 level, while the nearest support is at 733, at the 733.30 level. Now, since there is volume and it has been breaking out in the past few days, I expect the stock to either trade within this range, the resistance of 760 and the support at 733. Now, it may continue its surge if volume would continue the following day. Okay, the next stock that we will be reviewing is BDO. BDO ended in a doji. So this means that during the day, the price moved as high as 97.60, but sellers pushed it down just a little above its opening of 95.60 to finish at 95.75. So the body of the candlestick is very thin, but there is volume, and it is still above the 20-day and 50-day exponential moving average, as well as the 100-day moving average. The next resistance of BDO is 98.52. The doji here is a sign that the stock may not proceed upward, so it may be a sign of reversal. So it has been breaking out in the past 2 days, and if volume will continue, then it will retest the 98.52 level. However, since this is a very thin candlestick, it may consolidate within the 98.50 range to the nearest support at plot natin, di ko na plot to, 93.5. So yan yung nearest support, 93.8 to 93.9. However, there was net foreign buying on the stock at 202 or 203 million. Okay, so the next stock that we will take a look is SM. Okay, SM ended at 945 or 2.61, 24 points up, 2.61%. And actually, when you take a look at the volume, wala siyang volume. It's just market sentiment that it's going up. Dito meron. Pero ito, successive days na meron siyang hindi mo makita yung volume. It's just probably average volume. Yeah, okay. There was volume beginning October 8. October 8 up to present, there was an average volume. It's not zero, of course, but there has been buying in the sidelines, although you cannot see it here. So yan, yung flat line na ito, kasi dito, siya, below zero siya, meaning merong selling of the shares here. Dito, biglang nagkaroon ng buying, and it has been consistent until from October 8 up to October 22. Although hindi natin makita yan, ang tingin ko dyan is that the stock will continue to move upward and may retest the level to 963 level. So that's my take on the stock. And it will move between 963 and the nearest resistance is 937. Okay, so let's take a look at the next. Dito mukhang nagko-consolidate lang. So I drew a box here. Some would call it the Darvas box, but this is just nothing but support and resistance. The support is at 590 and the resistance at 643. So the stock has been moving sideways and at this level since October 8. But today it gained 0.13 points or 2.10%. And there was net foreign buying. So without a catalyst, the stock would continue to move sideways. Wala ring volume Mababa lang yung volume niya. Just below the average. Let's take a look at MBT. Okay, MBT continues to move upwards, although there is a red candlestick today. So it just moved sideways today, profit taking. 0.95% decline. But if you will take a look at our indicators, the short term, the medium term, and the long term exponential moving average are below the candlestick, indicating a bullish movement. Also, our relative strength index, an indicator which would measure the relative strength of the stock, is at 70, indicating a strong bullish movement. An RSI of 70 and above would indicate an oversold sentiment. However, the oversold would just be natural if there is an upward trend. So let's take a look at the directional movement. If the directional movement is above 30, then it is just but natural that the RSI remain oversold. So it's at 43, 43.35, meaning there is a strong upward movement, and it would just be natural for the RSI to be oversold. Okay, MBT, tingnan natin dito. Kabila. Actually, I drew a channel here. Starting September 3, the stock started moving upwards towards, well, parang siyang channel, no? Nag-move lang siya within this channel, and it continued to move upwards until today. So the next level of Metro Bank, it may retest the 43.02 level, although it ended in a red candlestick today. And the nearest resistance is actually nasa resistance siya. 41.70, 41.75. That's the nearest resistance. Hindi ko lang na-plot, but that is the nearest resistance. 41.73, 41.75 is the nearest resistance. Actually, you can place it lower, mga 41.60. Lagay natin ang indicator. Pataas siya. Yan, no? If you see our indicators, the short, the medium, and the long term are all under the candlestick. And if we will check the directional movement, the DMI, that should be above 30. Yun, 43.35. So that would indicate a strong bullish momentum, and it is just but natural that the RSI to be oversold. It was 69.99 or sabihin na natin 70 yan. So I expect the stock to move higher, and it may retest the 43 level. Okay, the next that we will be reviewing will be another financial stock, BPI. Very strong mga financial stocks ngayon. Okay, so BPI, nag-profit taking siya from the previous breakout, and there was a very strong second day breakout. Yesterday it surged about 10%, but this time nag-profit taking siya, and it declined by 3.69%, opened at 74.80 and closed at 73. So okay, maaaring nagpahinga lang yan. It may move within this range of between 75 and 72. 75 is the resistance, while 72 is the support. So it may just move within this range. It may retest the 75 level, and if that retests, the next level of resistance will be 77. Okay, after that, let's take a look at SECB. So pang ilang financials na ito, we have BDO, MBT, BPI. SECB is the fourth bank. SECB. Nag-profit taking sa SECB today from a perceived breakout yesterday, and it ended at 97.50 or a 2.5% decline, and there was net foreign selling at 53 million. So I just expect the stock, if there is volume, then it will move upwards, but right now the stock may move just within the range of the upper range, which is the resistance at 100.6 and the support at 96.7 or 97, about 97 level. When I talk of support and resistance levels, they are not exact points but areas. After SECB, let's take a look at LTG. Okay, LTG, dire-diretso siya, and look at the candlestick. It's a solid candlestick with above average volume, and look at our indicators. The 20-day exponential moving average, the 50-day exponential moving average, and the 100-day exponential moving average, all lined up. Ito yung setup na alam mong pataas yung stock. And I will just guess if there is really a trend, the DMI would be above 30. 46, tama. So there is a definite trend. And it will be but just natural for the RSI to be above 70. Natural lang po yan. So, hindi po yan magre-reverse soon because there is a strong upward trend. Now, the DMI, if I may just explain a bit, is a directional index that would indicate a bullish trend or a bearish trend. Hindi ko lang nailagay dito eh. Pero, if you will just take a look at where the candlesticks are moving, then the DMI would be above 30 if there is a bullish trend. Now, the DMI would also be above 30 if there is a bearish trend. Okay? So, dalawa yan, ha? Bullish and bearish. And if you see the chart moving up, that's a bullish trend. The DMI should be above 30 if there is a definite trend. However, the DMI may be also above 30 in a bearish trend. So, magbigay tayo ng example. Halimbawa dito. Ito bababa to, di ba? Ito yung area to. Yung March 30. Kung titignan mo yung DMI niya dito, above 30 yan. Yan, no? 45.32. Pero pababa yan. No? But that would indicate that the trend of the stock is going down. Okay? So, the DMI is both an indicator of a bearish trend and a bullish trend. It will be above 30. Ngayon, kung walang trend, it will be below the 30 mark. Okay? Kasi may iba pang indicator yan na hindi ko na lang nilagay. Merong red ADX at saka there's another one there. Pero pagka marami kasing lines, nakakalito eh. Okay? So, dalawa yung purpose ng DMI. It will indicate a bullish trend and a bearish trend. Okay, let's now take a look at nickel. Nickel, nako. Okay. Ang nickel, yun. Earlier we had news on nickel that nickel prices are soaring, no? They're moving up. So right now the stock is moving up and there is volume, and there was an initial breakout here which continued, nag-consolidate. Tapos there is another small or medium-sized candlestick with volume which would indicate a second breakout. So nag-breakout dito, umakyat, nag-pull back. By the way, the term for a consolidation after a breakout is called a pullback. No? So nagko-consolidate lang siya. For example, ito, 2 days siya nag-breakout. Pagkatapos niyan, nag-consolidate or nag-pullback yung candlestick. Characterized by a reduced volume. Tapos pagka nag-breakout ulit, increased volume na naman yan, pataas. So, how do I see the stock? Tingnan natin. Wala kasi dito. Na-plot ko na kasi yan eh. Tingnan natin dito. Sa nickel, yan. The stock may move in the support area. It's 370. And the nearest resistance is at 415. So it may test this area. It may move upward if the volume will allow. After nickel, eto tahimik lang to. Pero matindi. MER. Alam mo, MER is a good stock. Napakaganda ng binibigay niyang dividend. Pareho yan ng TEL, Globe, at ito, MER. Very good dividend siya. And usually, dalawang dividendo niya eh. The regular dividend and the special dividend. And how can you go wrong with MER? Ang problema lang kasi sa kanya is socially sensitive yung pricing niya. No? Maraming nagproprotesta kung tumataas yung bills natin sa kuryente. Pero, you need power, di ba? In a growing economy, you need power. And MER gives that, no? Yung distribution capability niya to service a growing needs of a growing economy, a growing population also. Nasa 295 na siya. And it is within the resistance. 294 yun na nakita kong resistance, but nasa 295. Yun pa rin, nasa resistance pa niya. And it may retest the next level at 300. Nasa 300 yung next level niya. 303, 304. At nagkaroon siya ng net foreign buying, 85.82 million. So if you'll see yung forma ng ating indicators, pataas. Pagka bullish siya, yung candlestick is over the indicator, the EMA20, followed by the EMA50, followed by the EMA100. Ang bearish trend naman is the opposite. So, nauna, nasa taas yung the indicators are above the candlesticks, which ang formation niya will be the 100, the long term, the 100 EMA, the 50-day EMA, and the 20-day EMA. All that in that order. The reverse naman is, ito naman, 20, 50, 100. Okay? And if that crosses over, for example, ang setup ko kasi, if the EMA 20 crosses the EMA 50, that is a buy signal for me. Ito kasi, this is consolidation. So here, when should I do the buy? I do the buy whenever the EMA 20 crosses the EMA 50 upwards. Yan. Ito yan, no? So at this point here, I should have bought if I am trading the stock. Okay? So for instance, I bought at closing 278. Here. Kasi nag-cross na siya. Nag-cross yung EMA 20 sa EMA 50. Kita nyo yun? Nakita natin. Yan. Here. Example, I close at closing price. Dito at 278. If I held on to the stock, okay, nasaan na siya ngayon? Nag-close siya at 295. So 278 minus 295. 278, 295 minus 278. That's 17 divided by 278. That's a 6% increase. Minus 0.28. Siguro mga 5.9 ang gain ko. Diba? Not bad, diba? If I will sell the stock. Pero hindi pa, wala pa akong sell signal eh. Ang sell signal ko naman is the opposite. No? The moment that the EMA 20 crosses the EMA 50. No. The moment that the EMA 20 crosses the candlestick. Ito. Sell yan. So here, sell ako dito. Closing price dito. So if I bought here and sold here, kumita ako ng konti. Di ba? Kasi ito yung buy signal ko dito. Close at 270. Ang sell signal ko naman, the moment that this crosses the candlestick here. Halimbawa dito, nag-cross siya, nag-below siya. 270, ito nag-cross at 270. Isa-sell ko siya at 278. So, may konting kita ko dito the moment it crosses the candlestick here. Yan po ang ating report sa stock market, October 22, 2020. 9 days na lang, Halloween na. Ito po si Benji Chiloro, laging nagpapaalala, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. See you again in the next episode. Maraming salamat sa inyong pagtangkilik.